When you sit down to write a story, do you start with a treatment or an outline?
Now, each process has been a little bit different for me for each one. I've done quite a bit of one with treatments and outlines, but they're very useful. But what I found more useful is the we talked about before, the movie days. That's helped me give it a structure. But I would come with an idea, and sometimes it depends on each script. Sometimes I'll let it flow and just kind of I'll have an ending, and I'll have a image, and we'll start from there. But then maybe 1 month later, I'll start an outline because I'm stuck, you know. So, but I like to be flexible in that in my routine, just depending on, because some stories come out. I think it's like writing. I can only imagine if it's like writing music. Some songs, you always hear those great songs where it's Dolly Parton doing something like 9 to 5 in like 2 minutes or something like that, or like someone, I just woke up in the middle of the night and just wrote this masterpiece. Sometimes it pours out, sometimes it's laborious, but again, so I think those are useful treatments and outlines. So definitely.
By the way, that was a great movie too.
Yeah. Oh, 9 to 5?
Uh-huh.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's a great movie. With your film, All Roads to Perla, it started with an idea from seeing a paper bag or a plastic bag?
Yeah, well, I had an image of that. I also had an image of the Texas landscape. And I had the feeling of this wide open space at night. And I knew that one of the characters was a wrestler. And when you're wrestling season, I used to wrestle, sometimes you would sleep in a plastic bag. And then I had these images of plastic, there's a plastic bag hanging in a tree. Sometimes when you drive around in the desert and things like that, or out there, you'll see that. So it started with the landscape, seeing plastic, and then having that feel then I thought of plastic body bags. Then I thought, which was all because of daydreaming. You think you drive and your date. Well, I told you not to drive and daydream, but I was on the road a lot for my assignments, and you're covering Texas. I covered like 5,000 miles in 21 days to do like 18 shoots one time, and that was how All Roads to Perla started coming out. Is because I saw all these places and faces, and I didn't want that to end, so I would just combine them and create my own story.
And were you doing a full loop around Texas, the outskirts?
I did. I've probably seen more of Texas than Texans. I've been to Eagle Pass, Brownsville, Midlands, Pecos, everything for just all different types of assignments. So, and that's why that landscape to me had so much like mystery, so much history, and it was just like, wow, this is unbelievable. It's like you hear stories of cowboys and this, but to actually see that land, it was awesome. And the people and the culture, you can't. Yeah, I was definitely inspired by that. And then I was sent down to Houston to do a story, and then that tied in to what I was doing. And in Houston, there's this 2-mile stretch where there are these massage parlors, illegal massage parlors, and then I got to go on a raid with the sheriff. So I would have all these like interesting, heavy assignments, whether it's immigration to that to exoneree. Michael Morton, he was accused of killing his wife, served like 22 years in death row, but later found out that he didn't do it. So all these human interest stories, I wanted to understand what that was all about. We make these choices and sometimes those choices aren't good enough, and then we have to live with the consequences, good or bad. So that's what happened in my time driving around in Texas.
And how did you feel, let's say you get out at a road stop, you go to use the bathroom at an older gas station, or you stop for a bite to eat at a cafe? I mean, like, how was that? You're just interacting with...
It's interesting being an Asian American and trying to, going around in different, like I think I went to the least populated county once, population like 10 or something like that. It's cool. It's cool. It's again, I felt like I was like in a movie all the time. I felt like it was, but it's real. It's awesome. It's the people, the culture. Again, I keep talking about that. But when I would stop, it's sort of like when you get so used to thinking what could happen, like if these walls could talk, who lived here 20 years ago, 40 years ago, what family, you know, it's the same thing. What happened this stop? What happened this single family home? Who owned it before? So your brain just goes all over the place. And I think working as a photographer, I was able to catch it with one frame, but now as like you could write these stories and just make it up, you know, like, oh, this is what happened. Fred walked out the door, got hit by a truck, his son's out for revenge. There. Okay, now let's have fun and let's spend next 2 hours writing about that. Why, who hit him in the truck? Was there a motive? What Fred do to the other person? You know, it's so that's kind of neat, and that helps with if you daydream a lot, because then you can just go, oh, what happens over there? Well, maybe Fred, you know, had it coming. Well, that's what the mayor said. Well, the sheriff was out to him. You know, it's just so you could keep going. It's fascinating.
Interesting being on the road. I think we behave differently too. If let's say I took a Greyhound across country one time as a kid, and if you're in your own car versus you're in, you know, waiting in line at an airport or something, you seeing all these people and you're imagining what their lives are like, and they're looking at you thinking the same thing, you know. And it's just, I don't know, we're just in a different mindset, I think, when we travel, even just domestically, you know. So anyway, there was
when you're seeing, like, you know, I would walk when I was living in New York or anywhere, even here, and you walk by so many people and you're just like, I wonder what are we ever going to meet again? Then you're like, I wonder how many photos I'm in the background that, you know, that I don't know of, and things like that. And then you realize how many people are in this world, and then you realize how many stories there are. But then you're like, we're all human. We have these same emotions. How do we tap into that? And that's why when you hear music and songs that could move a whole country, a whole world, that is amazing. To write something in 3 minutes, to have something play in 3 minutes, and it just moves everyone. Mozart or anything like that. And Elvis, but
Beatles.
So, which means we're connected in a certain way. We're connected with emotions. So I think when we travel, though we see different things, different lands, different people, we're still connected with those human emotions and think, you know, that's what the fun part is as a creator. So I grew up I'm from Laos. My grandmother came to the States in 1986. She didn't know any English. So, and my Lao is not the greatest. So it's for us to communicate there's other ways. Maybe that's why I like filmmaking or photography. It was other ways to communicate. I would have to translate General Hospital to her and why Luke and Laura got married and things like that in Lao, and it was funny. So when you with another language and you got to find other ways to communicate, maybe that I got so into visuals, into sounds. So those are things that could express things versus literally I am sad. You know, I'm telling you I'm sad versus like a frown. You know, so that kind of stuff. So it's neat.